My name is Morgan, and this is the story of the day I learned my father didn't just borrow from me. He stole from me. He stole my inheritance, then looked me in the face and asked me to help out like nothing happened. But first, dear viewers, I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. What country and city are you watching from right now? And what challenges have you faced in your own life? Thank you so much for sharing. Your stories matter, and I read every single comment. Now, let me tell you exactly what happened to me. I'm 28 years old. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in Columbus, Ohio, and I work as a medical billing specialist at a mid-sized healthcare clinic called Riverside Medical Group. I make $43,000 a year before taxes, which breaks down to about $2,850 per month after taxes and health insurance deductions. Let me show you where that money goes. Rent, $950. I live in a 650 square foot apartment in a decent but not fancy neighborhood. Student loans, $320. I graduated with $38,000 in debt, now down to $31,500. Car payment, $0. My 2014 Honda Accord is paid off, but more on that car later. Car insurance, $180. Utilities, electric, water, internet, $140. Phone, $65. Groceries, $300. I'm good at meal prep and coupons. Gas, $120. Misc/savings, $775. That $775 sounds like a lot, but it's my buffer for everything else. Clothes, household items, medical copays, car maintenance, and trying to build an emergency fund. One unexpected expense and that buffer disappears. I'm not poor. I'm not wealthy. I'm exactly where millions of Americans are, making it work, barely, and one crisis away from financial disaster. My father is Richard Carson. He's 57 years old, about 6'1", with graying hair and the kind of presence that makes people defer to him automatically. He worked as an automotive service manager for 30 years before a back injury 5 years ago led to a workers' comp settlement and early retirement. He now gets disability payments and Social Security, though he's never told us exactly how much. My mother is Patricia. She's 55, quieter than my father, and has spent most of their 33-year marriage learning when to speak and when to stay silent. She worked part-time as a medical receptionist when I was growing up, but stopped when my dad got his settlement. He told her she didn't need to work anymore. I have one younger brother, Tyler, who's 25. Tyler is everything I'm not in my father's eyes: agreeable, unquestioning, and male. Tyler can ask Dad for money and get it. Tyler can make mistakes and be forgiven. Tyler gets the benefit of the doubt. I do not. Growing up in our house meant learning a very specific set of rules that were never written down but were absolutely enforced. Rule 1. Dad's word is final. There is no appealing a decision once he's made it. Rule 2. Questioning Dad is the same as disrespecting Dad, and disrespect is not tolerated. Rule 3. If you need help, Dad will provide it, but you will owe him, not just the money or the favor, but gratitude, compliance, and submission to his authority forever. Rule 4. All major decisions must be approved by Dad. Where you go to college, what car you buy, who you date, where you work. Everything runs through Dad first. Rule 5. Money decisions always involve Dad, even if it's your money. My mother learned to navigate this system by becoming invisible. She'd agree with Dad in front of us, then whisper to me later in the kitchen, "You know how your father is. It's easier to just let him feel like he's in charge." But I noticed something. She said, "Let him feel like he's in charge," not "he is in charge." Even she knew it was a performance, but she decided the performance was easier than the alternative. I tried that for a while, being quiet, being agreeable, being the good daughter. It didn't work, because I wasn't Tyler. I was a daughter, which meant I was automatically less valuable. I could follow every rule perfectly and still be treated as difficult the moment I had an opinion. So somewhere around age 16, I made a different choice. I would become independent. I would build a life my father couldn't control because I wouldn't need him for anything. I got my first job at 16, hostess at Applebee's, $7.25 an hour, plus tips from servers who appreciated that I kept the waiting area organized. I worked every weekend and saved every dollar. When it was time for college, I applied for every scholarship I could find. I got a partial academic scholarship to Ohio State. It covered about 60% of tuition. For the rest, I took out loans. My father told me I should go to community college first to save money. I knew what he really meant. Stay home longer, stay under his roof, stay under his control. I went to Ohio State. I worked 3 part-time jobs during college, on-campus library, weekend retail, and summer internships. I graduated in 4 years with a degree in health administration and $38,000 in student loan debt. My father told me the debt was my own fault for not listening to him. I moved into my own apartment 2 months after graduation. A tiny studio at first, $700 a month, but it was mine. My father came to see it once. He walked around, checking the locks, looking in the cabinets and said, "You're wasting money on rent. You could live at home for free." Free. Except it wouldn't be free. The cost would be my autonomy, my privacy, and my sanity. "I like having my own space," I told him. He frowned. "Must be nice to have all that disposable income to throw away." Disposable income. I was eating ramen and peanut butter sandwiches to afford that apartment. But in his mind, independence equaled excess. That's the dynamic I lived in for the next 6 years. My father on one side, trying to maintain control through guilt, criticism, and strategic offers of help that always came with strings. Me on the other side, building a life brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck without him. And then my grandmother died. My father's mother, Helen Margaret Carson, was 84 years old when she died. For her entire life, she'd been the opposite of my father, gentle, generous, and incapable of manipulation. Grandma Helen was the person who made family gatherings bearable. While my father held court at the head of the table, Grandma Helen would sit next to me and ask quiet questions. "How's work, sweetheart? Are you eating enough vegetables? Are you happy? Are you happy? Not are you successful or are you making good choices? Just, are you happy?" She was the only person in my family who asked that question. When I was in college, stressed about money, Grandma Helen would slip $50 into my hand when my dad wasn't looking and whisper, "For something fun. You work too hard." After I graduated and moved into my first apartment, she visited once. She walked through my tiny studio, smiled, and said, "This is lovely, Morgan. You should be proud of yourself." No criticism, no suggestions, just pride. I didn't realize how rare that was until she was gone. Grandma Helen's cancer diagnosis came suddenly. She'd been healthy and active her whole life, gardening, volunteering at church, driving herself everywhere. Then one day she went to the doctor for what she thought was indigestion, and they found stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctor said maybe 6 months. She had 3. I visited her every weekend during those 3 months. I'd drive the hour and a half to her house, sit by her bed, and just be with her. Sometimes we'd talk, sometimes we'd watch TV, sometimes I'd just hold her hand while she slept. My father visited too, but his visits were different. He'd show up with a legal pad and start talking about getting affairs in order. He'd ask her about her will, her bank accounts, her insurance policies. He'd frame it as helping, but it felt like something else. Like he was cataloging inventory. My mother would gently redirect him. "Richard, not now. Let her rest." But he'd push. "We need to make sure everything's organized. Mom would want things handled properly." 2 weeks before Grandma Helen died, I was sitting with her alone. She was weak by then, sleeping most of the day, but she woke up, looked at me, and squeezed my hand. "Morgan," she whispered. "I'm here, Grandma. I made sure you were taken care of." I leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "The will. I made sure. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I thought she meant emotionally, that she'd made sure I knew I was loved. I smiled and squeezed her hand back. "I know, Grandma. I love you too." She smiled, closed her eyes, and went back to sleep. I didn't understand what she really meant until much later. Grandma Helen died on a Tuesday morning in October. I got the call from my father at 6:47 a.m. "She's gone," he said. His voice was flat, not sad, just informational. I'll be right there, I said. No need. It's handled. Funeral home is on the way. We'll plan the service for this weekend. Handled. Everything was always handled with my father. The funeral was on Saturday. Small, quiet, at the church Grandma Helen had attended for 40 years. About 50 people came. Family, church friends, neighbors. My father gave a eulogy that was 70% about him being a good son and 30% about Grandma Helen. He cried at the end, and people nodded sympathetically. I didn't cry during the funeral. I'd done my crying in the weeks before, sitting by her bed. At the funeral, I just felt numb. After the burial, we went back to my parents' house for a reception. People brought casseroles and potato salad and told stories about Grandma Helen. My father played the grieving son beautifully, shaking hands, accepting condolences, looking appropriately devastated. As people started to leave, my father gathered me, Tyler, and my mother in the dining room. We need to talk about Mom's estate, he said, sitting at the head of the table. Estate. The word made it sound like Grandma Helen had been wealthy. She wasn't. She'd lived in a modest house that was paid off, drove a 10-year-old car, and survived on Social Security and a small pension from my grandfather's job at the post office. But she'd been careful. She'd saved. And apparently she'd planned. Mom left a will, my father continued. She worked with an attorney, Mark Silverman. Everything's very clear. He pulled out a folder and opened it. Inside was a copy of the will. The house goes to me, he said, which makes sense. I'm the executor. Tyler was scrolling through his phone, barely paying attention. She left some personal items to your mother, jewelry, photo albums, things like that. My mother nodded quietly, and she left money to you two. Tyler looked up. How much? My father consulted the will. Tyler, you're getting $5,000. Tyler shrugged. Cool. Morgan, you're getting $20,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. $20,000. $20,000. Tyler frowned. Why does she get more? My father looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mom left a note saying Morgan paid her own way through school and deserved extra. Something about building a foundation. Tyler looked annoyed. That's not fair. Life's not fair, son, my father said. Then he looked at me. You should be grateful. That's a lot of money. I was grateful. I was shocked. I was overwhelmed. $20,000 wouldn't change my life overnight, but it would change my trajectory. I could pay off a huge chunk of my student loans. I could build a real emergency fund, 6 months of expenses, like the financial experts always say. I could start saving for a down payment on a house. I could breathe. When do we get it? I asked, my voice quiet. My father closed the folder. It's not that simple. There's probate, estate taxes, executor duties. These things take time. How much time? Could be a few months. I'll keep you posted. A few months. That was fine. I could wait a few months. I'll handle all the paperwork, my father said. That's why Mom made me the executor. She trusted me to do this right. Trusted me. He said it with weight, like a responsibility he bore nobly. Thanks, Dad, Tyler said, standing up. I'm gonna head out. My mother started cleaning up coffee cups. I stood there, still processing. $20,000 from Grandma Helen for my foundation. She'd believed in me, even at the end. I walked out of my parents' house that day feeling the strangest mix of grief and hope. Grandma Helen was gone, but she'd left me something real, something that could help me build the life I'd been working toward. I should have known my father would find a way to take it. 3 weeks after the funeral, my car started acting up. My 2014 Honda Accord had been paid off for 2 years. It had 127,000 miles on it, which isn't terrible for a Honda, but it was starting to show its age. Little things at first, a weird noise when I turned left, the check engine light flashing on and off, the air conditioning only working on full blast. Then the transmission started slipping. I'd be at a red light, shift from park to drive, and there'd be a delay, a clunk. The car would hesitate for a second before engaging. It happened a few times before I realized it wasn't just me being bad at driving, something was actually wrong. I took it to Jerry's Auto Repair, the shop I'd been going to since I bought the car. Jerry himself came out to talk to me after test driving it. Your transmission's slipping, he said, wiping his hands on a rag. Fluid's low and it's got metal shavings in it, which means there's internal wear. How bad is it? Needs a full transmission service. We'll drain the old fluid, flush the system, replace the filter, refill with new fluid. If we catch it now, it should buy you another 30 to 40K miles. If you wait, you're looking at a full rebuild or replacement. How much? Full service with parts and labor? $1,200. I felt my stomach drop. $1,200. I had maybe $800 in my checking account and another $500 in savings. I'd been slowly building that savings back up after using it for a root canal 6 months earlier. Can I wait a few weeks? Jerry sucked air through his teeth. I wouldn't. This thing's gonna fail on you, probably on the highway, and then you're looking at way more than $1,200. Could be $3,000 or $4,000 for a full rebuild. I stood there in the auto shop, smelling motor oil and feeling trapped. Can I finance it? We don't do financing, but you could put it on a credit card. My credit card had $2,000 available, 18.9% APR. Okay, I said, do it. 2 hours later, I drove out of Jerry's with a fixed transmission and $1,200 on my credit card. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a calculator, figuring out how to pay it off. If I put $400 a month toward it, I could clear it in 3 months. That meant cutting back on everything. No eating out, no buying anything non-essential, rice and beans for dinner most nights. It would be tight, but I could do it. And besides, the inheritance was coming. Once that hit, I'd pay off the whole credit card immediately and still have $18,800 left over. I told myself it was fine, temporary, just a few months. The next day, my father called. Hey, kiddo. Hey, Dad. How's the car running? I paused. How did you know about the car? Tyler mentioned you were having transmission issues. Tyler. I texted him about it yesterday, just venting. Of course he told Dad. Yeah, it's fixed. Cost $1,200. He whistled. Ouch, that hurts. Yeah, but it's done. Did you have that much in savings? I hesitated. Something about the question felt intrusive, but I answered anyway. I put it on a credit card. I'll pay it off over the next few months. Credit card, that's expensive. Interest adds up. I know. Well, that's what savings are for. You'll be fine. Savings. He said it like I had unlimited savings, like $1,200 was nothing. Yeah, I'll manage. You always do. There was something in his tone. I couldn't identify it then. But looking back, I realized what it was. He was gathering information, figuring out how much I could tolerate before I'd ask for help, figuring out how much he could take before I'd notice. 6 weeks passed after Grandma Helen's funeral. I checked the mail every single day like a kid waiting for a birthday card. Every time I opened my mailbox and didn't see an envelope from an estate attorney or a bank, I felt a small pulse of disappointment. After 3 weeks, I texted my father. Me, any update on Grandma's estate? Dad, still in progress. Paperwork takes time. Another week went by. I texted again. Me, do you have a timeline? Just trying to plan my budget. Dad, no exact timeline. These things don't move fast. Be patient. Be patient. The phrase every parent uses when they don't want to answer the question. Another week. I called him this time. He answered on the 4th ring. Yeah? Hey, Dad, just calling for an update on the estate. He sighed. Morgan, I already told you. It's in progress. I know, but it's been 6 weeks. Do you know when the checks will be issued? The executor process isn't instant. There's probate court, tax filings, creditor notifications. Grandma didn't have debts. You said the house was paid off. She didn't have debts, but there's still a process. Estate taxes need to be calculated. Assets need to be appraised. Beneficiaries need to be notified formally. I'm a beneficiary. You just told me in your dining room. I mean officially, through the court. How much longer? I don't know, Morgan. Could be another month. Could be 2. My credit card statement sat on my kitchen counter. Minimum payment due, $45. But I'd paid $400 to start chipping away at the $1,200 balance, which left me with $950 balance at 18.99% APR. Can I talk to the estate attorney? I asked. Silence. Why would you need to do that? Just to get an update directly. Sometimes it's easier to hear it from the source. I'm the executor. The updates come through me. I'm just trying to understand the timeline. Are you saying you don't trust me? And there it was, the trap. If I said yes, I was calling him a liar. If I said no, I had to stop asking. That's not what I'm saying. It sounds like it. I'm handling everything properly. I'm following every legal requirement. And you're acting like I'm hiding something from you. I didn't say that. You implied it. You're questioning my integrity. Dad, I just want to know when I can expect the money. When it's ready, stop asking. The line went dead. I sat on my couch, phone in my hand, feeling like I'd been slapped. Stop asking. Like I was a child pestering a parent about when we'd get to Disneyland. I wasn't a child. I was a 28-year-old woman asking about my own inheritance. But in my father's world, I'd always be the child. And he'd always be the authority. 2 weeks later, 8 weeks after the funeral, I got a text from my father. Dad, can you send me $300? I'm a little short this month. I stared at the message. He was asking me for money, while supposedly managing my $20,000 inheritance. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Me, I can't. I'm still paying off the car repair. Dad, I thought you had savings? Me? I used my savings for the credit card payment. I'm waiting on the inheritance to rebuild it. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Dad, what inheritance? What inheritance? My vision blurred. The $20,000 grandma left me. Dad, oh that, yeah, that's gone. Gone. My hands started shaking so badly, I almost dropped my phone. Me, what do you mean gone? Dad, it went towards estate expenses. Me, what expenses? Dad, funeral costs, estate taxes, bills. Me, Grandma's funeral was paid by her life insurance. You said that at the funeral home. No response. Me, Dad, where's my $20,000? 5 minutes passed. Then, Dad, call me. I called. He answered immediately. You need to calm down, he said. Where is my money? It's not sitting in a bank account waiting for you, Morgan. Estate funds had to be used for estate purposes. What estate purposes? Funeral arrangements, probate fees, property taxes on the house, utility bills while the estate was settling. The house is yours now. Those aren't estate expenses. They were bills that needed paying. With my inheritance? With estate funds. Estate funds that were designated for me. I'm the executor. I have discretion over how funds are allocated. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. Did you take my $20,000? I redirected estate funds for the stability of the family. To where? The mortgage. The house needs maintenance. Your mother needed. You used my inheritance to pay your mortgage? It's not your inheritance until I distribute it, and I determined it was better used for immediate family needs. I am immediate family. You're not struggling, Morgan. You have a job, an apartment, a car. Your mother and I have expenses you don't understand. Because you won't tell me? I don't owe you an itemized list. Yes, you do. That was my money. Watch your tone. Fuck my tone. Where is my $20,000? Silence. Then, very quietly, very coldly, I'm going to pretend you didn't just curse at me. You're emotional. You're not thinking clearly. When you can speak to me respectfully, we'll talk. He hung up. I stood in my kitchen, phone in my hand, shaking with rage and disbelief. He'd taken it. All of it. My grandmother's gift to me, the foundation she'd wanted me to have, was gone. And he'd taken it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation with my father over and over. It's not your inheritance until I distribute it. I redirected estate funds for the stability of the family. You're not struggling. Every sentence was designed to make me feel unreasonable, to make me feel like I was the problem for asking about my own money. But something didn't add up. If Grandma Helen's estate had been drained by expenses, where did those expenses go? The funeral was covered by life insurance. I'd heard my father say that to the funeral director. Estate taxes in Ohio are minimal unless the estate is over $400,000, which Grandma's wasn't. Property taxes on a house worth maybe $120,000? Maybe $2,000 a year. Utilities for a few months while the house was empty? Another $500? That's maybe $3,000 in legitimate estate expenses. Not $25,000, $20,000 for me plus $5,000 for Tyler. Where did the other $22,000 go? At 2 a.m., I got out of bed and opened my laptop. I started researching. Executor Duties Ohio. Beneficiary rights inheritance. Can executor take inheritance money? Estate fraud. The more I read, the clearer it became. What my father did was illegal. An executor has a fiduciary duty. That means they're legally required to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries, not themselves. They can pay legitimate estate expenses, funeral costs, taxes, probate fees, but they cannot redirect inheritance funds to pay their own mortgage or personal bills. That's called self-dealing, and it's fraud. I found an article from a legal aid website that made me feel like someone had written it about my exact situation. Warning signs of executor fraud. Executor refuses to provide accounting of estate expenses. Executor becomes defensive when asked about timeline. Beneficiary never receives distributions mentioned in will. Executor has sudden improvement in financial situation. Executor claims estate funds were used up without documentation. Every single warning sign applied. I also learned that I had rights. As a named beneficiary, I could. 1. Request copies of all estate documents from probate court. 2. Demand an accounting of all estate expenses from the executor. 3. Petition the court to remove the executor if they breach their fiduciary duty. 4. File a police report if I suspected fraud. I bookmarked every article. I took screenshots. I started a document titled Inheritance Evidence and began writing down everything I could remember. Timeline. October 15th, Grandma died. October 19th, funeral. Dad announces will in dining room. October 19th to November 25th, I ask for updates multiple times, get vague responses. November 25th, Dad asks me for $300. November 25th, Dad tells me inheritance is gone. November 25th, Dad admits he used inheritance for mortgage and bills. What I know. Will stated I was supposed to receive $20,000. Dad is executor. Dad claims money went to estate expenses. Dad refuses to provide documentation. Dad claims he has discretion over estate funds. What I need. Copy of the will from probate court. Accounting of all estate expenses. Proof of whether inheritance check was issued. Proof of where money actually went. At 3:47 a.m., I finally fell asleep with my laptop still open, exhausted, but with a plan forming. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I never call in sick. I save my PTO for emergencies, but this qualified. I drove to the county probate court. The courthouse was a depressing beige building downtown with metal detectors at the entrance and fluorescent lights that hummed too loudly. I found the probate records office on the 3rd floor. A woman in her 50s sat behind a plexiglass window, looking bored. I need to request estate documents, I said. She slid a form under the window. Fill this out. Case number? I don't have the case number. But I have the decident's name, Helen Margaret Carson. She sighed, like I'd just asked her to solve a math problem, then turned to her computer and typed. Filed October 14th. Case number PR 2024-08847. Status, open. You a beneficiary? Yes. I'll need ID. I slid my driver's license under the window. She compared it to something on her screen. Morgan Carson. Yep, you're listed. What do you need? Everything. The will, any accounting documents, any disbursement records. Accounting and disbursement won't be filed yet. Executor has 90 days from opening to file initial accounting. After that, it's every 6 months until estate closes. It's been 6 weeks, so there's no accounting on file? Nope. What about the will? That's public record once it's filed. I can print you a copy. 25 cents per page. Please. She printed the will. 7 pages. $1.75. I handed her $2 and told her to keep the change. I sat on a bench in the hallway and read through the will carefully. Page 4 had the relevant section. I hereby bequeath to my grandson Tyler James Carson the sum of $5,000 to be distributed from my estate upon my death. I hereby bequeath to my granddaughter Morgan Elizabeth Carson the sum of $20,000 to be distributed from my estate upon my death. This bequest is made in recognition of Morgan's independence, hard work, and determination to build her own future. I trust this will provide a foundation for the life she deserves. I read that paragraph 3 times, tears blurring my vision. A foundation for the life she deserves. Grandma Helen had been so specific, so intentional. She'd known exactly what she wanted to give me and why. And my father had taken it. I took photos of every page of the will, then went back to the clerk's window. The executor has to file accounting within 90 days, right? Correct. What happens if they don't? Beneficiaries can petition the court to compel filing, or petition to remove the executor. How do I do that? She slid another form under the window. Fill this out. File it with the clerk downstairs. There's a $75 filing fee. Judge will schedule a hearing. I took the form. Thank you. No problem. Good luck. The way she said it made me think she'd seen this before. Families fighting over money. Executors stealing from beneficiaries. Courts trying to sort out the mess. I sat in my car in the courthouse parking lot and pulled up the will on my phone. At the bottom of page 1 was the name of the attorney who drafted it. Mark Silverman, Esquire. Silverman and Associates 420, Oak Street, Columbus, Ohio. I called the number listed. A receptionist answered. Silverman and Associates, how may I help you? Hi, I need to speak with Mark Silverman about an estate he handled, the estate of Helen Margaret Carson. May I ask who's calling? Morgan Carson. I'm a named beneficiary. One moment, please. I was put on hold. Instrumental music that sounded like it was from a 1990s waiting room played for 2 minutes. Then a man's voice. This is Mark Silverman. Mr. Silverman, my name is Morgan Carson. You drafted the will for my grandmother, Helen Carson. Yes, I remember Mrs. Carson. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you. I'm calling because I have some questions about the estate distribution. Sure. Let me pull up the file. One moment. I heard typing. Okay, I have it here. Helen Margaret Carson, deceased October 15th, 2024. Richard Carson is the executor. You're listed as a beneficiary for $20,000. That's correct. What's your question? Has the inheritance check been issued? More typing. Yes. The check was issued on November 3rd. My heart stopped. November 3rd? Correct. From the estate account at First National Bank, check number 1847, payable to Morgan Elizabeth Carson for $20,000. I felt like I was going to throw up. I never received that check. Silence on the other end. You never received it? No. Where was it mailed? To the address listed in the beneficiary information. Let me verify. More typing. 342 Elm Street, Apartment 7B, Columbus. That was my address. That's my current address. I check my mail every day. I never got a check. That's concerning. Let me check the status. More typing. Longer this time. Okay. According to the bank records I have access to, check 1847 was deposited on November 8th. Deposited? By who? I don't have access to that information from here. You'd need to contact the bank directly. Which bank? First National. The estate account is there. Can you give me the account number? I can give you the estate account number, yes. It's a matter of estate record. He read out a 12-digit number. I wrote it down frantically. Mr. Silverman, if that check was deposited by someone other than me, is that fraud? He was quiet for a long moment. Miss Carson, if a check made payable to you was deposited into someone else's account without your authorization, yes, that would be fraud. And if the executor was involved, that would be a breach of fiduciary duty. What do I do? Contact the bank immediately. Request a copy of the check, front and back. The endorsement will show who signed it. If it's not your signature, file a police report. Okay. Miss Carson, I want to be clear. My representation was of the estate, not of any individual beneficiary. I can't give you legal advice in a dispute with the executor. But I can tell you that if you believe fraud has occurred, you should document everything and consider consulting your own attorney. I understand. Thank you. I'm sorry you're going through this. Good luck. He hung up. I sat in my car, hands trembling, and looked at the notes I'd written. Check issued, November 3rd, 1. Check deposited, November 8th. I never received it. Someone else deposited it 5 days between issuance and deposit, which meant someone intercepted it from my mail, or it was never mailed to me at all. I had a pretty strong suspicion about who that someone was. First National Bank had a branch 3 blocks from the courthouse. I drove there, parked, and walked in feeling like I was walking into battle. A greeter in a polo shirt asked if I needed help. I need to speak with someone about a fraudulent check deposit. His friendly expression faltered. Let me get a manager for you. Have a seat. I sat in the waiting area, leg bouncing, hands clenched. 5 minutes later, a woman in her 40s approached. Miss Carson? I'm Diane Winters, branch manager. Come with me. She led me to a small office and closed the door. Tell me what's going on. I explained everything. The inheritance, the missing check, the phone call with the estate attorney confirming it was issued and deposited. Diane's expression grew more serious as I talked. Do you have the check number? Yes, 1847. She turned to her computer and typed, waited, frowned. Okay, I'm showing check 1847 from the estate account. Issued November 3rd for $20,000, payable to Morgan Elizabeth Carson. Was it deposited? Yes, November 8th via mobile deposit. Into my account? She looked at her screen. Then at me? No, into an account ending in 4392. That's not my account. What's your account number with us? I don't bank here. She nodded slowly. Miss Carson, I need to verify your identity and your relationship to this check. Do you have ID? I handed her my driver's license. She compared it to something on her screen. You're listed as the payee. The address on file matches your license. Can you tell me whose account the check was deposited into? I'm not authorized to release that information without legal documentation. This is fraud. I'm the payee on the check. I never authorized anyone to deposit it. Diane looked at me carefully. If you're filing a fraud claim, I can help you with that. But to get information about the account holder, you'll need to file a formal report. Then we can provide documentation as part of the investigation. How do I file a fraud claim? I'll get you the forms, but I strongly recommend you also file a police report. Fraudulent check deposits, especially for this amount, are criminal. Can I at least see the check? The front and back? She hesitated. Let me see what I can do. She made a phone call to someone in another department, spoke quietly for a few minutes, then hung up. I can show you the check image because you're the named payee, but I can't print it for you without a formal investigation opened. Show me. She turned her monitor toward me. There it was, a check from the estate of Helen Margaret Carson, First National Bank, check number 1847, date November 3rd, 2024. Paid to the order of Morgan Elizabeth Carson. Amount, $20,000. And in the memo line, distribution per will. My grandmother's final gift to me printed on a piece of paper. Can you show me the back? My voice was shaking. Diane clicked something. The image flipped. The back of the check showed the mobile deposit information. Deposited, November 8th, 2024, 3:47 p.m. Account, 4392. Deposit method, mobile app. And in the endorsement box where the payee signs to authorize deposit was a signature, Morgan Carson, except it wasn't my signature. That's not my signature, I said. Diane leaned closer. Are you sure? I pulled out my driver's license and pointed to the signature on the back. This is my signature. She compared them side by side. Her face went pale. You're right, that's forged. Can you tell me whose account that is? Let me check something, she typed. Her frown deepened. The account ending in 4392 is held by Richard Carson. The room tilted. Richard Carson, my father. He'd forged my signature and deposited my inheritance check into his own account. I need copies of this check, I said, front and back, now. I'll print them for you as part of the fraud claim documentation. She opened a drawer, pulled out forms, and started walking me through the process. Date of suspected fraud, November 8, 2024. Amount, $20,000. Description: check payable to me was deposited into account I do not have access to with forged endorsement. She asked me questions. I answered mechanically. No, I did not give anyone permission to deposit this check. No, I did not endorse this check. No, I do not have access to account ending in 4392. Yes, I know the account holder, Richard Carson, my father. She printed copies of everything. The check front, the check back, the fraud claim form, the account deposit record. This is clearly fraud, she said quietly. I'm flagging this account and freezing further activity pending investigation. You'll need to file a police report. The fraud department will contact you within 48 hours. Will I get my money back? Once the investigation concludes, and if fraud is confirmed, yes, the bank will reverse the deposit and reissue the check to you. How long does that take? Typically 30 to 60 days for this type of case. 30 to 60 days. Another month or two without my inheritance. But at least I'd get it back. What happens to the person who deposited it? If they're prosecuted, that's up to law enforcement and the DA's office. From the bank side, we'll close their accounts and ban them from our services. I nodded numbly. Diane handed me a folder with all the documentation. I'm really sorry you're going through this. This is awful. Thank you. I walked out of the bank with the folder clutched to my chest, got in my car, and sat there. My father had forged my signature. He'd stolen $20,000 from me, and he'd looked me in the face and lied about it. I drove straight from the bank to the police station. The Columbus Police Department's downtown precinct was a concrete block building with cruisers parked out front. I walked in, approached the front desk, and said to the officer behind the plexiglass, I need to file a report for fraud and forgery. He looked up from his computer. Amount? $20,000. His expression changed. Have a seat. I'll get a detective. I sat in the waiting area for 15 minutes, watching people come and go. A man arguing about a parking ticket. A woman crying about a stolen purse. Normal police station chaos. Then a woman in business casual clothing approached. Morgan Carson? Yes. I'm Detective Lisa Moreno. Come with me. She led me to a small interview room. Gray walls, a table, 3 chairs, and a camera mounted in the corner with a red light indicating it was recording. Tell me what happened, she said, pulling out a notepad. I told her everything, slowly, chronologically. I laid out the documents on the table. Copy of the will showing I was owed $20,000. Copy of the check, front and back, showing the forgery. My driver's license with my real signature. Bank statement showing the check was deposited into my father's account. Text messages with my father. The fraud claim form from the bank. Detective Moreno went through everything carefully. She examined the signature on the check, compared it to my license, and took photos of all the documents. This is pretty clearly forged, she said. And you're certain you never authorized your father to deposit this check? Positive. I didn't even know the check existed until I called the estate attorney myself 2 days ago. She nodded, making notes. And your father admitted to using the money? He said he redirected estate funds for the stability of the family. He said he used it for his mortgage and bills. Detective Moreno's jaw tightened. That's not how estate law works. I know, she leaned back. Miss Carson, what you're describing is forgery, fraud, and theft. These are felonies. Your father could face criminal charges. I know. Are you prepared for that? This is your father. I met her eyes. He stole $20,000 from me. He forged my signature. He lied to my face. Yes, I'm prepared. She nodded slowly. Okay. I'm going to open a case. I'll need to contact your father for his statement. I'll also request full bank records from First National. What happens now? I'll contact your father within the next 48 hours. If he admits to depositing the check, we'll move forward quickly. If he denies it, we'll subpoena bank records, which could take longer. Either way, the evidence here is pretty strong. How long until this resolves? Criminal case could be months, but the good news is the bank will return your funds once their investigation concludes, regardless of the criminal case timeline. And my father? If the DA files charges and he's convicted, he's looking at felony theft and forgery. Depending on his record and the specifics, that could mean prison time. More likely, given his age, and if this is a first offense, he'd get probation and restitution. Prison time. My father could go to prison. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and horror. I need you to understand something, Detective Moreno said gently. Once this report is filed, it's in the system. You can't take it back. I'm not having second thoughts. She nodded. Okay, I'll get this filed today. Here's my card. If your father contacts you, don't engage. Let everything go through official channels now. She handed me a case number on a small piece of paper. Thank you, I said. I'm sorry you're going through this. Family cases are always the hardest. I walked out of the police station feeling like I'd just set something irreversible in motion. I'd reported my own father to the police for stealing from me, and I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear. I got home around 4 p.m. I made tea, sat on my couch, and stared at the wall. At 4:47 p.m., my phone rang. Dad. I let it ring. It went to voicemail. Then came the texts. Dad, the police just called me. Dad, they said you filed a report for fraud. Dad, you really did this? Dad, call me now. I didn't respond. Then my mom called. Then Tyler. I answered Tyler. What the fuck, Morgan, he said. He didn't believe it at first. Then I told him about the check, the forged signature, the bank confirming it. This is going to destroy the family, he said. He destroyed it when he committed fraud. He wanted me to talk to Dad. I refused. I told him to stay out of it. Then my mom left a voicemail. Your father made a mistake, but calling the police? You're going to send him to jail over money? This is cruel. This is vindictive. I deleted it. Then the family thread exploded with messages. I left the group chat. I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb and poured myself a glass of wine. My family was choosing sides, and I could already tell which side most of them were on, not mine. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Torres. She specialized in probate disputes, fiduciary breaches, and estate litigation. Her hourly rate was $300. I scheduled a consultation for Friday at 2 p.m., $150 consultation fee. Friday arrived. Rebecca Torres was in her early 40s, wearing a sharp blazer and glasses, with the air of someone who'd seen every family drama imaginable. Tell me what's going on, she said. I told her everything. The inheritance, the executor, the missing check, the forgery, the police report. She reviewed my documentation. File a petition Monday. Petition to compel accounting and to remove executor. I'll draft it for you. This is a clear breach of fiduciary duty. Then she laid out costs. $5,000 to $10,000 total fees. She offered a payment plan. $2,000 retainer, $500 now, and $500 per month for 3 months. Then pay the remainder after the inheritance returned. She'd also asked the court to order my father to pay attorney fees. I agreed. I paid $500. Monday, I'd file the petition. Wednesday, he'd get the demand letter. Monday morning, I went to the probate court before work and filed. Petition to compel accounting and remove executor. Requesting. 1. Executor Richard Carson be ordered to file a complete accounting. 2. Executor Richard Carson be removed for breach of fiduciary duty. 3. A new executor be appointed. 4. Attorney fees and costs be awarded to me. Grounds. Executor failed to distribute inheritance as directed by will. Executor deposited inheritance check into personal account without authorization. Executor forged beneficiary signature. Executor refused to provide accounting when requested. Executor used estate funds for personal expenses. $75 filing fee. The clerk stamped it. Judge would schedule a hearing within 2 weeks. That afternoon, Rebecca sent a demand letter via certified mail. Rebecca called Wednesday evening. My father's attorney contacted her. Dennis Kowalski. He claimed my father denied forging my signature and said I gave verbal permission to deposit the check. Rebecca said we wait for the court date, prepare for a hearing. Then my mom started texting. Tyler called. Everyone pressed me. Friday, my father's attorney offered a settlement, $10,000 if I dropped everything. Rebecca rejected it and countered with full payment plus fees. $20,000 plus $247 interest plus $2,500 attorney fees equals $22,747. Tyler asked to meet for coffee. He brought my mother. They begged. They guilted. They called me cold. I told them, pay $22,747 by Monday or see me in court. I walked out. Probate Court, Courtroom 4B. Judge Patricia Hendricks. Rebecca presented evidence. Will check images, forgery comparison, bank records, police report. My father's attorney argued verbal permission and discretion. Judge asked my father directly if he deposited the check. He admitted he did. No written authorization. He admitted signing my name. Judge removed him as executor immediately. Judge ordered payment. $22,747 within 30 days. Case resolved. My father didn't pay. Rebecca filed for wage garnishment. Court approved it. $500 per month from disability payments until $22,747 is paid. 45 months. The bank reversed the fraudulent deposit. A new $20,000 check was issued and delivered to me via registered mail. I received it 3 days before Christmas. I deposited it and used it too. Pay off credit card, $950. Pay student loans, $10,000. Build emergency fund, $6,000. Save for house down payment, $3,050. The criminal case moved slower. The DA offered a plea deal. My father pled guilty to 1 count of forgery, got 2 years probation, and had to pay restitution. He's a convicted felon now. He never apologized. I haven't spoken to my father since the court hearing. My mother emailed, "You got your money. Was it worth destroying your family?" I archived it. Tyler and I text occasionally. Everyone else got muted or blocked. I spent Christmas alone, peacefully. In March, Tyler came over and told me the truth. Dad didn't use the $20,000 for the mortgage. He used it to pay off a gambling debt. Mom didn't know. Tyler apologized for not believing me at first. 1 year later. A year later, financially. Credit card paid off. Student loans down to $21,500. Emergency savings, $6,200. Down payment savings, $3,800. Wage garnishment, $500 per month, $6,000 received so far. Personally. Cut off dad completely. Minimal contact with mom. Rebuilt relationship with Tyler. Therapy. New friends who respect boundaries. Professionally. Raise at work, now $46,000 per year. Taking a course in healthcare management. Saving to buy a small condo. Emotionally. Happiest I've been in years. No guilt. Sleep well. Trust instincts. Protect peace. Then I got a letter from Dad admitting everything: gambling debts, theft, forgery, lies, an apology. I put it in a drawer. The lessons. 1. Document everything. 2. Don't rely on verbal promises. 3. Executors are not above the law. 4. Family doesn't excuse fraud. 5. Guilt is a weapon. 6. You are not responsible for other people's consequences. 7. But their family is not an argument. 8. Protecting your boundaries is not cruelty. 9. You cannot fix people who don't want to be fixed. 10. Chosen family is real family. Epilogue, the foundation. I'm sitting in my apartment. On my kitchen table is a framed photo of Grandma Helen. Underneath the frame, I keep a copy of her will, the part where she wrote, "This bequest is made in recognition of Morgan's independence, hard work, and determination to build her own future." She believed in me. My father tried to take that away, but he couldn't. Because Grandma Helen didn't just leave me money. She left me a lesson. My name is Morgan. My grandmother left me $20,000 to build a foundation for my future. My father stole it, forged my signature, and lied about it for months. I fought back. I documented everything. I hired an attorney. I filed a police report. I went to court. And I won. Not just the money. I won my dignity, my boundaries, my peace. If you're fighting for what's yours, keep fighting. You're not crazy. You're not greedy. You're not cruel. You're just done being stolen from. And that's not selfish. That's survival. The Fell of T.I. Final note to viewers. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. I know it's long, I know it's heavy, but it's real. If you're going through something similar, please know you're not alone. Document everything. Seek legal help. Trust your instincts. Protect your peace. And remember, family is not a permission slip to drain you. You deserve better. Please leave a comment below sharing your country, your city, and your story. I read every single one. Your experiences matter. Thank you for watching. Stay strong.